In this first part of the meaning series, I'm going to talk about the words and concepts of existence and reality. So let's first start with some basic definitions. The word existence in the present day is commonly defined as the fact or state of living or having objective reality. So obviously the word existence is defined by the word reality. The English word existence comes from the Latin word existere, which means to stand forth, or to become, or to appear, or to be visible. This Latin word is made up of two word components, one of which is the Latin ex, which means out of, or in regards to, or to come from. The second component is sta, which is Proto-Indo-European. It means to stand forth, or to set down, or to be firm. Based on the etymology of the components and the definition of the word existence itself, it's pretty clear that the word deals with form, or being form, to have form, the presence of form, the presence of some definition, or even just presence itself. But as the word existence is defined commonly today by the word reality, we should also look at the etymology of the word reality and its current definition. A common definition of the word reality in the present day is the world or state of things as they actually exist, as opposed to an idealistic or notional idea of them. So now we can see that the word reality is also defined by the word existence in the present day. This is of course not the only example of words that are defined by each other, but there are more clues to go off of, so let's look at the etymology of the word reality. So again, the word reality comes from a Latin word, which is realis, and the word realis means generally actual, as you can see in the common definition, to actually exist. In medieval Latin, this also takes on the meaning of belonging to the thing itself, as opposed to a pure conceptualization of the thing in question. So the word actual has come up multiple times. Let's take a look at what the definitions we can find of that word are. So a common definition of the word actual in the present day is existing in fact, typically as contrasted with what was intended, expected, or believed. Now this word also comes from a Latin word, actualis, but in the present day this word seems to take on a bit of a different meaning than what actualis in Latin meant. Actualis, as a late Latin term, meant dealing with action or active pertaining to action. This again comes from a Proto-Indo-European root, which is ag, meaning to drive, or to draw out, or to move. So we have this earlier definition, which seems to deal more with being or form across time, which is action or change, but fundamentally is still dealing with form or being or definition. In multiple definitions given for these three terms, existence, reality, and actual, there is a negation of what the term does not refer to. Generally, these are about idealistic, conceptual, expected, believed notions. So the context provided to understanding what existence, reality, and actuality are not is generally some creation in the mind. Now you could make the argument that if there is a form or creation in the mind, it is as well existing or reality because it has some form or definition within the mind. I think this is true, but it uncovers a more fundamental aspect of what determines if something is real or existing, which is about accuracy. A representation of form that is accurate to the form itself is a representation of what actually exists, as opposed to a representation of a concept or a belief about what may exist. So this undercurrent of accuracy in the definition of terms brings us to the main purpose of this series, meanings itself, which is to provide accurate representations of ideas and of forms, or at least to attempt to provide accurate representations of forms and ideas. So let's look more at what determines if something is non-existent, or if it's unreal, or if it's inaccurate, for example. If something is non-existent, that means that it is not present. It does not have form as it is thought of. If we think of non-existence at the scale of all things, or the universe or multiverse, whatever you prefer to call it, then non-existence becomes about impossibility, because if it is non-existent anywhere in all things, it is because it is impossible as an expression of the nature of all things. Something that is impossible can still be conceptualized abstractly without actually reaching a definition or form of that which is impossible. For if it is impossible, it cannot be defined. That being said, non-existence at one level is different than non-existence at all levels. So for example, I could think of a unicorn, and there is no unicorn in my vicinity. That being said, the idea of a unicorn can be defined in my mind. So in that sense, it is real as an idea. It is possible to be defined as an idea. As a side note, it is possible that does exist somewhere in all things. So what actually defines form? It seems that in the definitions of all these words, there is a pretty clear expression of form in relation to that which is not form. So we can say that form is defined by its relationship to something different. Let's look at a simple example of up and down. So up and down are defined in relation to each other and the midpoint between them, which is neither up nor down. In this archetype of relational difference, there are three primary components. The first is that which is not any of the following differences. The other two are that which exist in relation to each other. So I'll talk more about relational difference in part 2 of this series. But to sum up, it seems that existence and reality are defined as the presence of form in relation to what is not that form. If you think there's another necessary meaning of the words and conceptualizations of existence and reality, please leave it in the comment below, and I'll definitely check that out and possibly mention that in a future video to clarify these topics. Thanks for watching. See you in part 2 of Meanings.